Good evening and welcome to today's edition of the Evening Review. It's our first show of the week. Let's have a look at some of the headlines in tomorrow's Namibian Sun. Tonight we are welcoming back to the show businessman, young entrepreneur, as a matter of fact, Michael Amushelelo, who is an award-winning businessman in so many different spheres of business. And today we are here to talk about some of the recent developments regarding his business empire. Michael, welcome back to the show.
Toys, you see, every time we come to the show and you keep introducing us as young, we're just getting older. So very soon you'll be introducing young, but the person like, I know this young that you keep talking about, these people are now old.
No, I understand. But the mark was made in your youth.
No.
And you're still very, very young, actually. So
No. The thing is, I always like to dispute the fact that we're not young. We're actually very old. You see, when you reach your 30s, it technically means you are now old. Because people are peers elsewhere in the world. You hear the guy's a multi-billionaire, the guy's a self-made this. So we need to play catch-up. So unfortunately, time is not on our side.
I understand.
Yes.
No, we have actually lost track of time because just recently you were winning all these things and it was the youngest entrepreneur of the year and stuff like that. And then somehow we just lost track of time.
No, definitely.
How are you doing, man?
No, I'm great. How are you doing, too?
No, proper.
Good to always be back.
No, thanks.
Yes.
For making time always. So today, of course, last Thursday, you were in court.
Yes.
And we heard that you are facing a massive 365 charges related to your forex business.
Yes.
How would you react to that? And how will you survive all these charges?
No, well, there's no way to react to that. It's pretty much welcomed and acceptable given the circumstances in which we are playing. Like I've said from the beginning, and I've said it various times on this show, this is what happens when you somehow accept, or not accept, but when you, what's the English word? When you anger the powers that be. So the powers that be, we have angered them, we have shaken them. So now they are just retaliating by showing us that, you know what? We are in charge of the system and we can charge you as many charges as you want. I think the charges merely are basically just to say, for all the 365 days in a year that I've angered them, they were like, wait, for every day I went to bed angry, I'll add a charge onto the fact that I went to bed angry because of you. So from the beginning, it's always been a politically motivated case because these guys went from 3 charges to 4 charges. Now there are 365 charges. I'm sure in the next court appearance, after this interview, they would have also added another charge by the mere fact that I've come to this interview. So I'm definitely expecting more charges. So the 365, I welcome those charges because we are not afraid to challenge the system that is.
Indeed.
Yes.
How will you survive this? It's a system. If let's assume that you are 100% correct, that it's a war waged against you by a very powerful system. How will anyone your age and just an individual survive something like this?
You see, Toivo, the thing is, what people don't understand is that there are certain individuals who need to be sacrificial lambs. Any system that gets waged a war against, there are those who first succumb to the war. And if some of us have to be the first one to succumb against this system, then let us be. But eventually the system will fall. Because everybody sees what's going on. It's not to say it's a thing of where people used to be blind. Now everyone can clearly see that the system is corrupt. The system needs to be overhauled, literally remove the poisonous, cancerous individuals who are currently infecting the system, so that we can bring about new and fresh system into the system. However, as I've said, and I'll continue saying it, we are not afraid. You know, the thing is, there are a lot of individuals. The other day I was having a chat with someone, a very powerful CEO in one of the parastatals. And then the guy said he was afraid just to go on Twitter and air his views of what he really thinks. Because there are repercussions, unfortunately, to whatever it is that you say and do in this country. And we don't need to look further. Some of us, we are now perhaps on the very last chopping blocks. There are people who have been in cabinet who have just spoken their minds that have been kicked out of the system. So who is us now? Some of us who are even far behind the line, who have been speaking out against certain things, not for the system to come against you.
Indeed. Michael, how did we get here? You were this prodigy, this young man, ambassador for, was it MBL?
Yes.
And winning things with the DBN, all these innovative ideas, like really a kid on the block, if you like. Now you are this man that is facing all these things.
Yes.
Just how did we get here?
Okay, Toivo, we got here quite simple. Now, I had a path to choose, and that is to obviously sing along what others are singing, and that is to dance to the tunes of the current powers that are. So if I danced the Ndilimani songs and all these other nice songs that they have, then surely I would have gotten the protection that I deserved. Because I was dancing to those tunes. However, because my conscience and my principles said to me, but no, these things that are happening in this country, they are not correct and they are not right. Now, we have people who are in positions of power, but are afraid to speak out simply because of the repercussions. And we very know well what the repercussions are. Assuming you had government tenders, you just see your government tenders being slashed until you have none. If you are benefiting from the fishing quota system, you just see your quotas being slashed until you virtually have none. If you're at a business that was thriving, you just see they start crippling it one by one until virtually nothing is left. But now I said to myself that I'm taking a principled decision to challenge the system and fight the status quo. Because if we all back down on the mere fact that we're all afraid, then who then is going to bring about the change? I mean, every day in society, you hear people complaining through various platforms to say things are not correct in this country, something needs to be done. But people always complain in the shadows because they are afraid of what's going to happen in terms of repercussion. However, in any revolution, there needs to be a face of the revolution. And some of us, we have decided to say, if we are going to be the face of those revolutions that are going to come about to bring about real economic emancipation for everyone. Remember, what I'm fighting for is not to say, remember, I'm fighting so that everyone can enjoy truly a piece of this cake. Because if we only have certain few individuals who are benefiting from these vast resources that we have in this country, then what we're going to have is we're going to have a situation where crime is going to increase in this country. People always ask, how is it possible that crime rates are always increasing? I always say, instead of us investigating why this person stole and why they stole sugar and why they stole this, why not investigate the real deep reason? Someone somewhere was appointed to ensure that you have a job, but someone slept on that job, and as a result, you do not have a job, and that's why you ended up stealing. So we need to go after the culprits that have systematically dismantled the system and that have also systematically ensured that the system only benefits a few. This is the system that we need to go after. Because for as long as we do not go after those individuals, and for as long as we do not fight the system, we'll continue to have high unemployment in this country that has so few individuals and so little people. So this is how I got where we are today. So unfortunately, it's a simple case of do not bite the hand that feeds you. Unfortunately, that hand was already not feeding us, but either way, we still beat it. So now this hand is literally fighting us back.
I see. Now, in all your struggles, you are striving for an evolution of how things are done. You want things to be done better, according to at least what you're saying here. But do you sometimes introspect and say, Michael Amushelelo, have I always done things correctly? Do you sometimes regret the manner in which, particularly this particular case of forex trading, do you think that in hindsight you could have done a few things better than you did?
No, there's nothing I would have done differently, Toivo. And there's nothing I would want to change from what I've done in my past. You see, regret is only for fools.
Yeah.
Only a fool will regret doing whatever it is that he did.
Yeah.
Because even if I sit now here with regret, does it change anything that I've done in the past? No, it doesn't change anything. However, what I've done for myself and what I've done for the next Namibian is to say that the system can be challenged. The system can be fought. You know, right now we're going to go to court, and first of all, we are going to go into a system where the Namibian police chief is appointed by the head of state. The prosecutor general recently got her reappointment. The chief justice obviously also got his reappointment. So the whole system, and as much as we say Namibia is a state where the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive is on its own, it's not on its own. We should stop lying to ourselves. The executive controls the legislature. The legislature is controlled by the executive. The executive controls the judiciary. So because we don't have those impartial and independent institutions, these people report to an individual. Now this individual that they report to, perhaps we need to recap and go down back in memory lane. In 2018, that's when I first hinted in getting into politics with the formation of power.
Yes.
In 2019, in January, while I'm celebrating my birthday in Dubai, I recall very well the incident of Dimbulukeni Noyoma when he was arrested simply because he tried to stop a sheikh from being demolished. Upon that, I went on my social media and I called the President of the Republic of Namibia an educated fool. Words that I'll still repeat. Because he, in as much as he has his many PhDs, he's still an educated fool. As a result of that, we then, that's when the whole process started to say, there is this boy, okay, wait, we'll now start monitoring from here onwards.
Yeah.
And then from there on, we then put up billboards of power all over the city of Windhoek. For the first time in SWAPO's history while they were in charge, never have they seen a party that is not yet registered that has put up billboards across the whole of Windhoek and in some parts of the country. So immediately this guy saw, so there is actually a potential threat among these boys. And then from there on, they can then tell you, because they are the ones through FICA and all these other institutions, they could then start seeing where I was channeling most of my funds. Independent candidates, opposition parties, and things of this sort. They will never speak of those things in terms of where some of my funds were being channeled to. Because it's in their interest to make sure that that doesn't come out. So as a result of them seeing that this guy is now channeling too many funds to too many political parties and too many oppositions, in fact, anyone who doesn't like the current government are saying, yes, you are my friend, come, let's continue the fight.
Yeah.
And then leading on towards the November election, which was in 2019, in October they then decided, guys, this is a critical time before elections. Let us just cut this boy off. Let's not take chances because we cannot predict what's likely to the outcomes going to be. Because remember, if disputes need to happen in terms of in the courts and all of these things, we need money to fund these disputes. So what do? You cut off the funding. Because if you have cut off the funding, then we can't run to lawyers and say, hey, this and this has happened to us. We can't run to the judiciary system because the judiciary system is not for the poor. It's unfortunately for people who have money. So what do? You cut off the funding. And that's exactly what the ruling elite did. And then if you look at the events, at the time, The Bank of Namibia governor was Ipumbu Shimi. Ipumbu Shimi, as a reward for delivering these two boys on a silver platter, he got appointed as the Minister of Finance. Sam Shivute was also part of Bank of Namibia. I see now he's heading this new tax revenue agency. So clearly you can see all the people who were catalysts in delivering these two boys to the system. They were handsomely rewarded to say, thank you very much for doing your good work. Here is the work that we have granted you. Here's your compensation in terms of work well done.
Okay. Those are words of Michael himself. Please don't let me in trouble. But of course, very, very important to, you are free to say whatever you think you want to say on the show, so there's no problem. We go for a quick break and then we'll be back.
Join the club, the Infinity Club with Paratus, and jump into a world of limitless connectivity. Paratus Fiber, LTE and Sky-Fi Infinity packages starting from 1499 excluding VAT. Think big with Paratus Infinity products and overcome all limitations. Visit na.paratus.africa for more information.
Always prepared. Paratus.
We are continuing with Michael Amushelelo regarding the charges, 365 of them that has been forwarded or been brought against him last week. Michael, what is the status of the funds that were repossessed by the authorities that actually belong to your clients, most of it?
Well, Toivo, in terms of the funds, we're not sure. I mean, government is in dire need of money. And when we say in dire need of money, we are talking about serious deficits. Government has a deficit of about 29 billion Namibian dollars that they need to cover within this financial term. That is why you see they are eager to sell off MTC to their friends and their families in order to raise apparently about 3 billion Namibian dollars. So when you are asking me what is the status of the funds of my clients, I want to start shedding tears, because knowing this government, they have already used up that money. They have most probably eaten it already. And now, perhaps with the sale of MTC shares, that's how they are most probably trying to replace some of those funds.
Yeah.
But in terms of government liquidity, government has no liquidity. That is the honest facts. Government doesn't have money. So that's why you are seeing they are literally auctioning off and selling off anything that is of viable nature in this country, because they do not have money. That is also perhaps part of the reason why they came and arrested us and brought all those bogus charges, so that they could get whatever funds they were willing to get from us. So in terms of those funds, I'm honestly worried whether those funds are still there. Obviously, if we write letters to them and ask them to show us if those funds are still available, they will just tell us, yes, the money is still available, but it's all bogus lies. I'm very certain and I'm sure that that money is not available. That's why when we approached the High Court to have our assets unfrozen, that's why they immediately went, that's why Martha Imalwa immediately went to court the same day to ensure that we do not receive back our assets, because they are very well aware that there is no money left in terms of the money that was there.
Now, against this whole background, how does a person in your position, and yourself in particular, I can only speak for yourself, how do you plan your life, personal life, business life, with such a huge cloud hanging over your head?
Therefore, you take it one day at a time. You see, the thing is, as much as there's this huge cloud hanging over my head, and the fact that in as much as you are doing your plannings, your personal life, your business life, there is that possibility that, yes, you could end up in jail or whatever the case is. I'm not worried about that. For as long as I'm alive, for as long as I'm breathing, I'm going to take my life one step at a time. And I'm going to enjoy it while doing so at the same time. You see, the thing is, we always get bombarded with problems and things of that sort. You see, I always look at people. A guy comes to me and the guy tells me, no, I own a cash loan. And I ask you, what's the amount? No, it's just $1,000. And I ask this person, do you know the amount of problems that I'm having? I'm literally supposed to be thinking of hanging myself, given the amount of problems that I'm having. But despite that, here I am still smiling, having a fighting spirit. That's because you should never allow your problems to defeat you. So, despite the fact that there's so many obstacles and so many challenges, we are still optimism to say that one day is one day and things are going to be all right. You know, sometimes you must soldier on like a buffalo soldier. And when I listen to people like Bob Marley and Lucky Dube, you know, those songs, they keep us going. Gorilla, you know very well that things get hard, but it's only a matter of perception. How do you perceive things? Because how you perceive it is basically ultimately the determining factor. So for me, I perceive, yes, this is just a trial and tribulation that we need to go through. It's part and process of life. Unfortunately, some of us are not meant to be average. And I keep saying this. And average people have average problems. People who are not average have problems that are above average. That's why you're seeing individuals like me seated in a seat like this, speaking about the 365 charges that I'm facing. It's to just basically say I'm not ordinary. I'm extraordinary. So basically it means my life has a bigger purpose than what I actually think and what I actually perceive to understand right now. So it's a thing of I'm not able to put into context right now what my life is about, but it's a thing of if tomorrow I'm not going to be there, decades from now, 10 years from now, I might become a face of a struggle. You see, Sheikh Kuvera, them were just nobodies. But today, if you look at the likes of Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, they have now taken on roles of legends. Because people could not understand what it is that they were trying to do that time. But eventually, after time, people will come and look back and say, but oh, so this individual was actually trying to open our eyes and see that this system has been pit against us. This system was designed to ensure that we all stay poor and remain poor. So we are fighting this oppressive system because you cannot tell us that we are independent, but yet we have not tasted what real economic independence tastes like. 31 years down the line, our economy is still concentrated in the hands of a very few. It's just few families that control the economy of this country. Now, how can it be correct that a population of 2.5 million is controlled by 1 or 3 families?
I hear you. It's a good point. Tell me about your housing initiative in Breakwater. What is it about? How does it work?
How does it work? Okay, so Toivo, how the housing initiative works. So let us take a look at the housing backlog that we have in Namibia. Now, our first approach is to say, our first phase is to get people housing units. Our 1 bedroom sold for 195,000, 2 bedrooms sold for 350,000, and 3 bedrooms sold for 650,000, which is unheard of in this market. All of them sitting on F sizes, 500 squares, and slightly bigger. So that was our first component. Then our second component was to say, but there are individuals who do not want this specific house that we are building for them, but would obviously like to have land. So what we then did is we came up with the first of its kind. It's a model where we say, we're going to sell you land that is unserviced while we are waiting for our township establishment to be approved. So you are then buying into the development at an early stage. we are charging 120 Namibian dollars per square for an unserviced erven. And once the erven has been serviced, we are charging 650 Namibian dollars. So all in total, you're going to pay about 770 Namibian dollars for a serviced erven. Now, if you go around in Kommersdal, and a fully serviced erven is going to cost you no less than 1,300 Namibian dollars per square. If you go into Kleine Cooper and the other suburbs, you are not looking at anything less than 1,800. Now, if you look at our development, you clearly stated that it's in Brakwater, and that's where it's going to take place. We are about 6 kilometers away from Elisenheim. Elisenheim currently charges, give or take, about $1,700 per square. And we are only 6 kilometers away from them. So if you look at the pricing that we're charging in terms of our $770 per square, it's relatively below the market. It's unheard of. So how we're able to do this is because most of the area in Brakwater, it's either farmlands or you get these portions where they are just subdivided. So we purchased ourselves a piece of land, about 50 hectares, and then we decided to say, let's take the lengthy route, which is obviously taking it through township establishment. Once we have established our township, we service the land, and then once we have serviced the land, we start building the houses, and then we obviously give the ervens of those people who have done it. So it's a thing of people do not want to utilize their minds. And when individuals like myself who come and utilize our minds and we think of great initiatives and ideas, then obviously people will start saying, but no man, this thing, is it not again dodgy? Is it not again fraudulent? Is it not again this? It's just people do not want to think.
Which was going to be my
laziness. That's all we have in this African continent. Africans are lazy to think, lazy to execute. Sometimes we have brilliant ideas, but we don't execute them. How long have people been waiting for mass housing? How long have people been waiting on NHE lists? And the other thing why we also came into play is we realized that you have the Shack Dwellers Federation, then you have NHE, but who's really catering for the middle class? No one is catering for the middle class. So as a result, you have a lot of initiatives who are only catering for those individuals who are at the bottom, but here at the middle, no one is catering for that middle class. So we then decided to say, let's take it upon ourselves and cater for the middle class, because the rich obviously can cater to themselves, and then the poor, obviously, they've got Shack Dwellers Federations, NHEs, and those other many lists that are there.
I hear you.
Yes.
The final question is anchored on what you just mentioned about how this current situation that you are facing can affect perceptions against your new initiatives. So for something like this, where exchange of money is required, how are you going to navigate those perceptions and present yourself as a credible businessman whose initiatives can still be trusted? Well,
the good thing is that what we have done now, Toivo, unfortunately, due to the current cases that I have, I cannot personally have entities under my name or anything of those sort. So what we have done is we have then gotten credible people to serve on our boards. So what we have created is we have created companies, then we have created a board, and then this board then reports directly to the company, and this board is also then accountable to our clients. So that's basically then what we have done. I mean, the thing is, I always tell people, you do not necessarily need to buy into me, Amushelelo. But if the idea is viable and it's bankable, then it will only be your loss at the end of the day for not buying into the initiative. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to lose anything, and you're also not going to lose anything. But you're going to lose out on an idea that could potentially house you. The problem right now that we have with our current housing market is that, first thing is first, you can only get a housing if you have the cash, which a lot of people do not have. And secondly, you can only get a house if you buy it through the bank. Now, we all know that if you purchase a house of $2 million through the bank, you are likely to pay an interest of about 4.6 million. This is just an interest. And on top of that, the 2 million that you have taken out, so you're likely to pay 6.4 million. Just for a property that you have taken out in a period of 20 years. So what we have done is we said, why should people pay interest Why can you not allow people to just pay the cost price? And then you could put up your markup of 20% or 30%. So that is what we've initially done with Property Group Save Namibia, is to say that we do not want people to become slaves of the bank. Now, Toivo, this is one thing a lot of people still do not understand. Now, how many people, and this is very important and this is key, how many people have mortgages in this country? But here's the thing. Many of us still do not understand the word mortgage. Where do dead bodies go?
In the morgue.
They go to the morgue. So what does that mean? It means you are a dead body to the bank. And that's why they have that bond. So that they hold you in bondage. So these things have a deeper meaning than what they actually are. So what we're trying to say is we want to free the people from these mortgages, this mortuary that they are literally being taken to by the banks, and that bondage that they are being held against by the bank. If you have read, there was an article saying that just last month alone,
in conclusion,
there was about 157 million properties repossessed by the bank. But if you imagine how many of those individuals have not paid those homes or those cars for the last 3 years, if it's a car, or a home for the last 15 years, just for it to be taken away because you simply cannot afford to pay it for the following 4 or 5 years. So what we're saying in our argument is to say that if you sign a contract with someone for 20 years, if that person is unable to pay in those 2 years or 3 years, you still have those 17 years or whatever years on that contract
to rectify
that error. So those are the things that we're trying to fight. So the system, like I said, it's a very big system. And collectively, we can somehow manage to bring the system down.
Michael, thank you very much for coming again today and for being very clear in your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Dave.
That's Michael Amushelelo. He is, of course, a businessman with a bright mind, but also with a lot of issues raised, trailing him, as explained last week in court, where he's facing 365 charges, which he is very confident that they are just cooked up.
I mean, Toivo, the reason why I'm saying they are cooked up is all those 365 charges are from the state. The state.
You've made your point there. Thank you for watching.